In the 1960s, Don Yenko emerged as one of the SCCA's top road racers. But Yenko became famous for what he did away from the racetrack. He took regular Chevy production cars and turned them into bona fide racing machines, selling them at his Pennsylvania car dealership. Not many were made, and relative few still survive, making Yenkos some of the most sought-after collector cars in the world. Today, 4 partners and their team are taking on a huge challenge. Build a replica 1969 Camaro that uses today's technology but remains faithful to the original. It's a gamble that could breathe new life into a legend. Hello and welcome once again to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm Dave Dobson and this is the headquarters of brand new muscle car. Now the guys here are building a replica of a 1969 Yenko Camaro, one of the rarest muscle cars of all time. Now most of the mechanical work is done, so now all that's left is to work on the interior and to add some of the creature comforts to the car.
We got the wiring in, the plumbing in, and the engine in. This baby runs. Now it's time to do the interior. So we're going to start with heat shield products, sound deadening, and heat insulation. We're going to put in the carpet, we're going to put in the seats, we're going to put in the door panels, do the dash, but first we got to build the seats.
When it comes to interiors, brand new muscle car relies on the experts from Integrity Customs.
Right now we're just taking the frame apart so we can cover each piece separately, because if you leave it together, you won't have enough room to get the leather down in there and everything to line up. First thing we got to do is cover the springs with burlap. It keeps the springs from digging into the foam. And we'll just take our hog rings. What I like to do is just get them all started by hand. Once you get all the corners, I'll go and put the others in with my pneumatic hog ring pliers. Put enough where it'll stay in place. We can move on to the next thing. Take the carpet pad insulation. This goes around the outside edge because everywhere the springs attach to each other, you have an edge. And eventually, over time, that'll try to cut through the foam. You just, the same thing as that, you start in the spot, get it tight, and then once you got all that, then you can just... All this will be hidden once we put the seat foam and the cover on. Now we're ready for foam. This foam from Classic Industries is made all to the factory original specs. It's a little better foam, lasts a little longer with the technology we have. We're splitting these seams open here, so our listings on our leathers will come down through here. Then you want to take a Sharpie and draw a rough line, and when you pull that up, that gives us a basic line on each side. We want to take our listing wire, bring it over to draw lines, get a basic idea of how long a listing we need, and cut one to fit. This wire is going to be the attachment point for the listings that are built into the seat cover. So then you just spread your foam out, make sure your line's in that general vicinity. Then I like to put a couple hog rings on the front of the foam here. Sometimes when you're stretching the leather, the foam tries to shift on you. Just put a hog ring or two right on the front edge, maybe 1 or 2 on the side. All right, well now we're ready to put the cover on, turn it completely inside out. These are our listings that we're going to attach to the ones we attach to the seat frame. And they make them full length, so what we have to do is cut them down to fit in there. So fit it where it's going to end up. So we look down there, and that's where our split starts. So this is the part of the listing that we want to cut. Just take your scissors, cut a little mark there, and then do the same thing at the back, then the other side. Now you can just go in with a razor blade, and you want to take that whole listing out because you don't want anything to leave a bump.
The seats will look just like original equipment from 50 years ago, and so will the dash, even though that 1960s facade hides some modern technology.
Omar has lowered the column. Now we're going to put in the dash. This holds our speedometer, tachometer, radio, heat and air controls. American Auto wire harness is really nice. It's got all the factory plug-ins made on it. Just plug everything into the back of the dash, then set the dash insert in. We bolt the steering column up, and that part's pretty much done.
We've got to figure out, as we spec a build out with the customer, what options do they want, what options do they not want, and what things do I need to change. Fortunately, When we buy the all-in-one wiring harness, it is a full-on harness that has 28 circuits, where an original car would have 6 or 8 circuits. So there are circuits, and they're labeled. So there's a circuit that says AC. If you don't have AC in that car, snip, throw it away. So it's already made for kind of the maximum situation. Even things like cruise control, which we don't really ever put on a car, is pre-wired. So it's kind of nice. Power windows, power locks, alarm, air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, all built for it, plug and play. It makes it a little bit easier for us.
Still lots more to come. Richard and Omar hit the brakes, and the car's interior continues to take shape.
The only I like it for the leather is the smell.
Classic Industries presents brand new muscle car Yenko Camaro is brought to you by Chris Austin's Chassis Works, the home of higher technology. Performance Unlimited, your crate engine experts, building your dream and ours one engine at a time. DJS Fabrications, the best mobile car dolly built today. And by Classic Industries, America's first choice in restoration and performance parts and accessories.
Back in Tulsa, our Yenko resto-mod has plenty of horsepower, and now it just needs brakes to keep it all under control.
These are the wheelwood brakes that we're going to put on the back of the '69 Yenko Camaro. These are a serious upgrade versus the disc drum package on the old cars. This car has disc brakes all the way around. Cool thing about the wheelwoods, other than they look really cool, these are bigger, they're cross-drilled, and they're directional vented. As the rotor's turning, it will pull air through the rotor and help cool itself under high braking conditions. Rotors are assembled. Next, we pull the wheels off. We assemble the parking brake assemblies and put the caliper adapter brackets on, fit the calipers, and see what we got. Just gonna test fit this on here. Make sure everything looks like it's gonna work. Axle goes back in. Now we put in our retainer plate for the axle. Go through the little access hole. Now we're going to put on our brake caliper adapter bracket. This is what holds the caliper over the rotor, and we'll have to shim it one way or the other to make sure it's all straight. The bolts supplied with this kit are just a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten them up. That way we only have to use one washer instead of 5 or 6 of them to get the kit on here. The shims are what are going to determine where the caliper sits. We will use them to move the caliper inboard or outboard or in and out laterally to make the brake pads fit correctly. The final piece to our brake puzzle are the wheelwood brake pads. These are specifically designed for the car we're working on.
Brand new muscle car, what's really, really cool for me is you get 1960 something car, right? Long time ago, 50 years. And you get in it and everything is new. And it smells good, it feels good, it looks like a new car, but it's a 1969 Camaro. So for me, it's a time machine.
This Yenko's looks will transport you back a half-century, but modern technology and a few upgrades will make it even better than the original.
And this year he using leather or using vinyl?
On this particular build, we're using a leather cover.
Oh, okay.
Originally, they were all vinyl. On this particular build, we wanted to upgrade to leather, but we still wanted to look identical to the way it came out in '69. So they make this cover here in leather with the original pattern. So you can see where the seam is on that part of the foam. And if you look at the back, it's at the very back of the foam too. So that way we know that when we stretch this side over that it's going to be even front to back. And what I like to do is just put one hog ring in to hold one side. Because with these kind of covers, if you try to attach a side all the way down, when you go to the other side, it pulls it at an angle because of the way the foam is made. Then we do the same thing on the other side. And you want to try to not catch any of that foam because sometimes it'll leave a bigger mark in there than you want to deal with. As you're doing that, you don't want to let it worry you that you have a few spots that'll wrinkle, especially when you're doing leather, because until you get everything pulled and tucked where it goes, you're going to have spots, and sometimes you even have to set the seat out in the sun because leather stretches a lot slower than vinyl does. Once you have it lined up, go down the listing here. Usually on a listing this size, I'll put like 3, maybe 4 hog rings. But on this one, the line looks pretty level and even, so we're gonna go with 3 on this one. You know how we lined it up on the top edge? But now when we roll it, we're putting it on the bottom edge. And the reason why we do that is this is where it's gonna end up. See how that gives you that nice roll look right there. Whereas if you start out with it on the outer edge, when you pull it down, then that seam's gonna be way down here. Once you get that front edge, if you're happy with where all the listings are and how it looks, then we can go ahead and roll this over the back edge here. Now we're ready to flip it over and attach the bottom. It's always going to be really difficult to get it to stretch where we want first. So what I do is start at the front edge. This lip right here has to roll up under this lip right here. So you get there and make sure everything looks lined up still, which it does. You get it started and then you just roll it like this. The seating surface is made out of leather. The sides are always made out of vinyl. Vinyl has a lot of give. So what you do, you push down and force the vinyl to go up and around. All right, we take the piece of wire that we had left from cutting that listing and we'll slide it into here. And that will attach to our bar there. Then all we have to do is notch out for where our lean back is gonna go. Come over to this side, same thing, put our inside washer. So now this piece is ready for the back.
When we come back, the team finishes the seats, and we see how they'll shield passengers from the heat and noise of the outside world.
Photos and documents shown on brand new muscle car Yenko Camaro, courtesy of Mark Gillespie. For even more about Don Yenko and the supercars that made his dealership famous, look online for the Yenko era and the Yenko era continued, Cannonsburg and beyond.
Welcome back to Tulsa. We've seen how the seat bottoms are put together. Now Scott begins building the backs of the seats.
Okay, now we're gonna install the lean back.
So you need to do the same process in this?
Same process. Now in this one, you'll notice how the seat frame has all these little pieces of metal that go up. All of them are for the hog ring. Same thing with these slots. Now this is where our panels can flip in, so what we want to do here is go ahead and cut out. This is our locking lever, so we'll have to come around that. Now we're going to fit our foam. On the seat bottom, we had to put that protective insulation all the way around the edge because of the springs. On this one we don't, because on the lean back, it's got the metal and the foam wraps to the inside. Now on this cover, they put a listing into the foam. We can actually take our listing wires and attach them to the outside of the foam because we already have that on there. Notice how I left all this extra space just like on the seat cushion between this point and this point, and that's to give you a little bit more give as the leather shrinks. It's not like vinyl. Vinyl stretches, leather shrinks, so leather will pull on this, whereas vinyl will give. I'm glad that we're sticking with this original look because I love these old cars, just the nostalgia, the feel of it. The new cars are nice to drive every day, but when you go out in your garage and you see a brand new car, after about a month, it's just a brand new car you got to make a payment on. But when you go out and see your hot rod sitting in the garage, you don't even have to drive it half the time. You just start that thing up, sit in it, think about the one day that you had the perfect Saturday that you can drive it. So you have to take this out here in the sun, bake it 350 degrees for an hour or so, and we'll be able to pull it without any effort and get it to where it needs to go. If you have the time, that's the ideal way to do it.
One thing that we always do, unless the customer absolutely does not want it, but we recommend, is we add sound deadening and heat shield products to insulate the car and seal it airtight, watertight, sound tight. It makes the car quiet like a new car. It makes the heat and air unit work like a new car. So that's a big deal, right? User experience. You're in the car, you're driving the car. Is it quiet? Is it hot? Is it cold? And again, that's what most people want. They want a car that looks old and drives new. And we like to use the heat shield product. It's peel and stick, self-adhesive, very easy to do. You cut it to fit, you lay it in, you peel it, you roll it on. Only takes a few minutes, but it makes all the difference in the world. They make all kinds of thermal wraps, whether it's exhaust, engines, transmissions. Obviously, and mostly, we use it inside the car. And their product is twice as thick. So it's got the regular plastic thick layer, but it's also got that nice carpet pad, which of course cushions the carpet.
Here at Heat Shield Products, we're managing heat. We're trying to create high performance through insulation. Ways to improve performance, improve your fuel mileage, improve your comfort, all without adding a ton of weight to the car and just making things work more efficiently. Our largest customer base is like a muscle car guy, a hot rod guy, a guy who will go and track his car on the weekend. A lot of times when you do your build, like one of the last things you think about is heat management. So things are usually in a tight quarters, you know, especially on some of these newer cars. There's not a lot of room under the hood, so you got to try to manage the heat. As you're starting to move components around, they get closer to heat sources that didn't exist before, so you've got to try to way to protect the component and keep the heat where it belongs. So we started off doing automotive products, primarily high-performance racing products, and now we've evolved into industrial, just starting to work on a few products for restaurants and your home and your kitchen and those types of things. So we're taking the technology from the racetrack and the years of tried and true development and putting them into other market segments now. It's obviously more efficient, if you can, to use an insulator, trap the heat at the source. The more damage control you can do there, the better off you are because it's radiating less out in other components. A lot of people don't want to have an exhaust heat shield or the rules don't allow them to. You've got to find a different way to stop the heat, and by that we put a barrier. Here's the cold side surface up here, and this would be the heat source, and you got to use a barrier here to stop it before it actually gets into the component or an interior or whatever it is that you're trying to stop heat, because as soon as it goes into that metal, it's very hard to soak it out and get it out of there. So you want to stop it before it gets to that point.
Up next, the team works hard to keep this resto-mod looking like the original Yenko Camaro from 1969. And there's still more to be done on the interior.
Classic Industries presents brand new muscle car Yenko Camaro is brought to you by Exalta Coating Systems. We paint winners. Scoggin Diggy Parts Center, your source for custom built street to strip power. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. And by brand new muscle car, building yesterday's dream cars today.
We've seen how Heat Shield insulates the interior from the noise and heat from the engine and the road. Now the team will cover that with black carpeting, just like on an original Yenko Camaro.
All right, just bring the back piece in first because the front piece has the seam on it. Get it lined up in the center. We're gonna go ahead and put the seatbelt bolts in. That way we know where to cut the carpet. And then we're gonna take these bolts loose to where they'll stick up and we'll cut around them. That way we can make our holes for the seats. Especially with this factory loop carpet that we're using. Makes it a little more difficult to feel. Now we can bring the front carpet. So what you want to do with this is get the driver's side set first where the heel pad is sitting. Right about there where the insulation meets up. Now we want to cut out a section right where the shifter goes. Get rid of the insulation first. Now we want to just put a slit right down the middle to slide it over the shifter. Now, a lot of times the front edge will be a little long, but we can worry about that once we get everything else set. And this one fits perfect. Yeah, that's ready for a seat. Well, looks like we're ready to do the dash then.
Okay, another team, done.
We're gonna start with the pad. It goes on top of the dash, covers everything up. First step is to put in this row of clips on the back. You know, I tried to do this on my '69 Camaro in high school once. I couldn't get it back in.
Yeah.
It's the worst week of my life. That one's in for sure, that one's in for sure. That one feels a little weird.
Yeah. This one is coming in already. Let me push a little bit this one. Ah.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, it was stuck.
There you go.
Okay, it was stuck, okay. Got it, now they're flush.
Yeah, it's flush.
Okay. And now the don't scratch the paint part. Here's the hard part.
Okay. How about the screws going in?
Those two are in. What do you think? How about that middle one?
Oh, now it's coming.
Yeah.
But this one is not convinced me very well. It looks like it's touched something in here. Uh-huh. Right there. No.
That one?
No, it's this one right here. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
The screws right here, look.
Yep.
You push it in, and then I can out.
Is this why young guys do this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. We're too old for this, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. You got this,
Nuts?
the nut.
Yeah. This is the part that made me wish for death in high school. Oh, the heat and air's in, though. Air conditioner's in here. Ow! Ow! Okay. If I drop it, we're never gonna see it again. Oh! Oh, but it came out. I had it. I've got these two middle ones on. Yes. Come on, baby. Wow. It's been a long day here at Brand New Muscle Car, but we got the interior installed, mostly mocked up. Looks pretty good. We got to get it over to Scott and Integrity, get it finished. God, I love these cars.
Next time, the team puts the final touches on the car. And it's time for the customer to see her brand new muscle car for the first time.
You want some creature comforts, you want power, or you want air conditioning? Great, we'll stick those in there as well. Nicer stereo, you know, better sound deadening, better carpet, better seats. You know, in the case of the Yenko, we're gonna go with leather seats. They look like the originals, but they're leather. But that's neat to me. That's very, very neat to me because the interior is so intimate. You're there, you touch it, you smell it, you're sitting on it, you feel it. That's the coolest thing about getting inside of a brand new car, and it's perfectly clean because it's all new. And we can do that with cars from the 60s. So that's really cool, and customers get a huge kick out of it.